It's hard and expensive to reinvent the wheel, and especially expensive when a notified body comes in to tell you that your bicycle wheel does not fit the car. We can be here to help you prevent that. If you're starting out as a medical device manufacturer, you might have some commonly asked questions that are still quite hard to get an answer to. So I want to discuss some commonly asked questions here. And one of the questions I sometimes get is, why is it so hard to get a CE marking? For me, the answer would be both financially and time-wise, a commitment needs to be made. From the start, you don't quite know yet how big this commitment will be. So you really need to ensure that you have enough financial resources and that you start early enough by implementing and finding a good RA expert. And this can take some time. Even finding the right person for the job can take some time, because unfortunately there are more job opportunities than professionals in the field. Finding the right personnel for the job can be challenging. And that is also where consultancy can come in to give you a head start while you are looking for the right person to fill your position of RA expert. I want to stress that it can take 1 to 3 FTE years to get the QMS and tech file ready for audit or ready for market. And the next challenge is getting a certification from a notified body. And often these have very long waiting periods. So even that you need to take into account when entering into a contract with your notified body. Keep in mind that once you have gotten a successful certification, you still need to do post-market surveillance of the medical device, do the maintenance and continuous improvement of your QMS. I want to talk a little bit also about the day-to-day challenges of regulatory affairs personnel, just for you to know that we've been in your shoes and we know what it feels like to deal with slowness of notified bodies, to not quite know how to interpret the MDR and the notified body saying, well, we don't give consultancy. One tip for that is to send them a proposal. Hey, we are going to interpret that this way. Would you accept that one? Another challenge is the knowledge of the state of the art that is hard to find or not publicly available. A challenge can be that the MDR is not in layman's language. Sometimes in your clinical evaluation, it can be a challenge that papers do not apply completely or the reliability is unclear. And this is also the case for how to implement your ways of compliance with certain requirements. So sometimes information on the internet on how to write a software development plan does not fit your company because it is very company specific on how to approach that. One case in which we had to interpret the MDR was in the case of an SPP. And the question from the customer was if they could combine devices from under the MDR and devices under the MDD for one SPP, and if that SPP then needed to be compliant with the MDR or the MDD. What we did was advise them that they comply with the MDR, just to be sure. And if for some reason that would not work for them, we advised them to write down their approach and have that checked by the notified body. Another thing that is one of the daily challenges is the unknown unknown. Sometimes you can have this looming feeling of thinking that there might be a standard or regulation out there that you should comply with, but you have no idea how to search for these regulations that you don't know if they exist or not. And that is another thing that the consultants from Medenvoy can help you with. So in summary, a lot of RA comes down to knowing what to do and knowing how to do that. And especially in the beginning of your certification process, it can be super helpful for a consultancy to come in and help you with this, because in the end it's hard and expensive to reinvent the wheel, and especially expensive when a notified body comes in to tell you that your bicycle wheel does not fit the car. And we can be here to help you prevent that. When you don't know if you could approach something yourself or not, you are less likely to call in a consultant that could solve it immediately. But then you also need some extra time to explain your product, explain what you've been doing up to now. And that can also take some time to get a consultant to where you are. If you're having a couple of questions now and you're hesitating whether or not to hire a consultant, I would recommend to start now. Have a consultation call in which we look at your questions and your problems and talk through what you could use, whether that would be worth it for you. And I would really recommend that over realizing later on that you would have needed help earlier once you are close to a deadline. If you are in a similar position as to what we've discussed, please reach out. We're happy to help and hopefully can alleviate some of the problems that you're dealing with.